Hi, guys. My guest today is a California-born human rights advocate, activist, whistleblower, video documentary producer, and author, and might I say, blogger extraordinaire. She has self-published 5 nonfiction books in the Mind Control in America book series. A 6th and final book is scheduled for release at the end of this year. The Government Electronic Surveillance, Advanced Psychophysical, Psychotronic, Patented Technology, its legal use today, and its origins in research, testing, and development programs. She's the administrator of a very detailed, informative website called BigBrotherWatchingUs.com, in which she details information on the horrors of what is happening today in high-level targeting operations to an audience nationwide. The recently released docudrama, which can be viewed on Amazon Prime for free, called Deceived, Mind Control, Schizophrenic High-Tech Fraud, creatively reveals what synthetic telepathy targeting really is. Welcome to the show, Renee Pittman. Renee, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm such a fan of yours.
Oh, it's my great pleasure, and I am also a fan of yours. I've had a chance to look over many of your interviews, and you're doing great work. You're doing great things.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That means we're going to be a team and continue to do great things together.
Hey, that's right. I'm glad that we are on the same team and that there is a large amount of people that are taking a stand, and the truth movement is a unified effort.
Yes. Aren't you so glad to be part of the truth movement? I love it. It feels so good.
It does. I think that it's our calling to some degree because, it doesn't come without negativity trying to stop the truth. And that's just the way it is in this polar universe. You have good, evil, negative, positive, yes, no, man, woman.
Right.
So you always have an opposite. But the thing is to balance that and transmute the negativity into light. And the goal is to help to save lives and make the world a better place.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said that better myself. That was beautiful. So what we're going to talk about a lot today is targeting, and that is kind of your area of expertise. So are you a targeted individual, Renee?
Oh, without a doubt. I am a targeted, but along with my being targeted, I'm the connection of being a high-level activist and whistleblower. It takes on a slightly different dimension because when they want to silence you, when you become a thorn in their side, so to speak, by revelations, then what happens is not only is it a psychological, electronic harassment, but it also becomes a physical harassment using directed energy for subjugation.
Wow. So how long have you been targeted?
Well, overtly, it started about 2005, end of 2005, and the beginning of 2006. So I would say 11 or 12 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. But when I listened to your interview with Stephen Schellin and Dr. John Hall, they mentioned a well-known fact that many people have been targeted in upwards of 20 to 30 years. I have yet to see or have even hear of anyone being released from this program once put in it. And the only release you get is, sadly, up to your deathbed.
Wow. Yeah. How sad is that? I mean, is there no way to get out? Not that we know of yet, I guess.
I think that when you become aware of the truth, then you become someone that it's mandatory that you're tracked and monitored because they don't want this information to get out. This is a highly covert program, technologically covert program using weapons that are unseen or detectable to the human eye, but are patented to do exactly what they are designed to do. So, yeah, it's something that it's difficult to prove.
Yeah.
However, there are mounds and mounds of open literature evidence that detail the structure of this program, its initiation, but in reality, it dates back eons. There's always been a group, let's call them the 1%, that would like to control the masses. And when you think of it, it makes sense. They want to remain in power. So they've always considered or used various methods to accomplish this.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it does make sense. And I guess just their technology has continued to evolve over the years. And who knows how far advanced technology that we have. You know, even what we know of for the military, we're 100 years behind, probably.
Oh my God, it's brilliant. And it's in continuous research, testing, and development. And a lot of people, they don't like the term of non-consensual human guinea pigs. Some would argue that, they've done all the testing, the technology has proven its effectiveness. So it's not a human guinea pig program any longer. It's a subjugation program for ultimate control of individuals, communities, groups, and large populations. However, with the technology, military foundation technology that dates back to the Cold War officially, um, the advancements require testing, ongoing testing on individuals. And then when the technology was unleashed on the civilian population post 9/11, it opened up a whole new realm of a necessity to test openly, more or less, on individuals, again, communities, groups, and large populations.
It's just crazy. Yeah, it's crazy to wrap your head around. So, what caused you to become targeted?
Well, when I look back, I have to tell you that recently the revelation that I've been targeted in this program since a small child. And that's what my book, Deceived Beyond Belief, which is hopefully the last book in this Mind Controlled in America book series, will focus on. One of my first recollections is something that many victims of this program, both men and women, complain about, is the unwanted high-tech sexual stimulation. I never understood at 4 years old where that sensation or that urge came from. And it was occurring around little girls of the same sex. And, I'm a straight woman. I have always been. I've never had any type of physical attraction to the same. However, I remember as a child playing house with another girl, and our pants were down and we were rubbing up against each other. I remember my mother catching us doing that, and I was called into the house and, fussed at and so forth. But what happened as a result of that, it made me a homophobic. I'm like, where did that come from? That's not me. And I just didn't understand it. So fast forward my life into actually knowing late 2000, late 2005, knowing that this is a program and the identical experience of the sexual stimulation, which was just intense. And that's because a lot of the people in this program are women, and men are sitting at the helm of 8-hour shifts. And they, if they find a woman, or even men, it's a way of sexual terrorism.
Yeah.
I was speaking with a Canadian victim 2 weeks ago, and he stated that about 5 years old, he was being sexually stimulated as well. And it was during our conversation of me bringing it up that he told me that, he recalled the same thing. So something is definitely happening. Not only is this program historically targeting, focused on men, women, and children, but the dynamic has also been to tamper with the growth and development of children from an early age. And in most cases, if you look at what's happening today, to change sexual patterns.
Yes.
And that is something we all can agree on because we see it obviously pushed in front of us and almost.
Yeah, that is one of the goals that falls in line with the New World Order.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
How scary is that to mess with little children like that? So since you were 5 years old.
Yeah, I would say about 4. I recall that. And then because I started doing a lot of research on what's happening, I remember incidences. See, the whole objective, mind control, let's change that to psychological electronic. The Soviet term for that is called psychotronic, meaning psychotronic, psychological electronic manipulation and influence. And that is derived from the electromagnetic spectrum, which is the energy that is around the Earth, which starts with, let me see, what was first? Is it microwaves? No, it's radio waves, microwaves, and infrared, and then it advances up to X-rays, gamma rays, and the order is kind of not precise. I think it's gamma rays first or X-rays first, or just to get the gist of what I'm saying. This energy has always been prevalent around the Earth. In fact, we are so connected bioelectrically to the energy around the Earth that we actually resonate to it in a phenomenon known as the human resonance. At some time during our sleep, our bodies actually align itself with the frequency of the Earth. And this is not only humanity, but it's for biological animals as well.
Huh.
So when you weaponize that technology, it becomes a technology that is compatible to what we really are. We're bioelectric. So that's what makes it an effortless capability to manipulate the human body with specific effects because it is bioelectric, and biometric is the capability that they're using today for surveillance. When you talk biometrics, you're talking about iris, gait, facial recognition. But the main thing in the use of it for mental and physical control, specifically mental control, is the brainwave pattern of our brains. That essentially is a fingerprint, and it's our unique pattern that can be uploaded into a supercomputer where they can upload, like if for one day, for example, one day I'm watching a movie and it's a tearjerker and I'm crying my eyeballs out and I'm targeted, so they can download that frequency of that brainwave pattern, and then they can beam that back to me when they want me to. For example, in my case, if they're torturing me, what goes hand in hand with it is that beamed, uploaded frequency of that emotion that is called heterodynamic as well. And Dr. John Hall, he speaks a lot on that. And many that are familiar with this program understand the dynamic of our brainwave signature as a brainwave fingerprint.
Wow. So how did you find out about that you just told us about?
Well, something that I recognize as the manipulation of emotions, and they still to this day. I'm pretty much an uplifted person, happy, and I love people, love talking to people. I've always had people that have loved me, and I've loved them back, just friends and so forth. And when I became a victim of this program, I realized that part of the directed energy weapon attacks were subsequently the effect was a severe depression. And I'm like, well, how is this happening? Because if you know what's happening in this program, um, it can become amusing. And I say that humbly, but it can become amusing to you because it's like, okay, I fully understand this capability. So what's your point here? But the ability to manipulate your emotions is something that I felt can result in people being nudged into many things, rioting, um, um, shootings,
Yes.
everything. And there are several patents. And if any of your listeners would go to, again, my website and go under the mind control patents section, you'll see the method for altering consciousness, which is one of several. Many of these patents are, some of them appear to be recently patented, but the fact is that in research and testing, um, they date back decades, generations, in families and communities that have been targeted.
Yeah, I did an article earlier this week that had a patent number, and it was Dr. Henry Luce.
I was going to mention him when you, yeah, definitely. And his is one of the main patents that creates the ptosis of the eye, which is the droopy eye syndrome. And when you think of that, when you look at some of the mass shooters today, one thing that stood out in my mind is that many of them have either a left droopy eye or a right droopy eye, to include individuals that I believe have been definitely mentally controlled into extreme racism or racial hatred. For example, on that blog, you'll see this recent guy who I believe it was in Oregon. He attacked um, two people with a knife and killed them. When you look at the image, his right eye is nearly closed. So I mean, but when your readers, your listeners, I should say, they get a chance to look up are mass shooters being programmed by this patent under the Mind Control in America blog, then there's clear evidence that something definitely that there's a great possibility of um, controlling based on the doctrine of a program that we know exists and has exist and did exist, MK Ultra and all of the Project Artichoke, Project Bluebird, and so forth, which are dissociation programs, which are trauma based. So ptosis, when you read about it, it is a condition that is trauma based. But when you apply that to the mass shooters and you start looking at the images of them, it makes you wonder, have they actually been put through a trauma-based frequency manipulation and devastation combined with many other techniques, sleep deprivation, torture, the trauma even of losing family, their livelihoods. Is there something really going on at a deeper level?
Yeah. See, I didn't realize that until I did go onto your blog, and you have all of the photos of, not all of them, but a lot of the mass shooters there. And I saw all of them that had the lazy eye.
That's right. And when you put it together, and then again, this recent guy, supposedly motivated by KKK mentality, his right eye is nearly closed.
Yeah.
What I think that they're doing is that they are separating us through racial hatred and are on that respect. But mass shooters, some would argue that it's for the gun control. They want, definitely, without a doubt, gun control laws enacted. And the regime that believed themselves in this globalization ideology, nobody is special. It has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with your religion or anything. If you can be used, and it doesn't matter. Thousands can die for what they believe is the greater goal, the greater good for their twisted, sadistic, psychopathic ideology of one world government.
Yes, it is. Yeah, wow, that is crazy. I mean, we're really going deep down the rabbit hole right now.
You know, the good thing about it is that when we get to a level of so much happening, one thing I know for sure is that good has always and will be more powerful than evil. I firmly believe that the goodness and love, but we have to sometimes go through darkness before we can see the light. So on a metaphysical level, I look at things that way because we're all being educated. Things are coming. We're in an awakening. Some would argue an age of enlightenment, and it's in that respect, all things are working together for good.
Yes. So, if you have been targeted since you were a small child, at what age did you start doing research and decide something's not right? When did you feel?
Well, you know, when I was 13, I remember some things that were happening around me that I didn't understand. And it kept happening, some sort of influence that I'm like, where is this coming from? And I didn't understand it. I think that many people, when you start to recognize that there may be something else happening than what this program is trying to create the perception for you, that you can become a focus. It was in 2005, 2006, when a young lady, as I was rebuilding my life after a divorce, a devastating divorce, and my inability to cope with it emotionally, when I started to toughen, a friend of mine who actually was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, he used to tell me, toughen up, Buttercup, toughen up, Buttercup. And I started to toughen up. I started to get a grip. And this young lady, she went to the Los Angeles Police Department and told an outrageous, unbelievable, bizarre lie about some type of inappropriateness with my dad. And yes, and when I realized that, because they were started saying things in the background of my phone, and then this lieutenant colonel, it was like a question and answer session that he was kind of subtly asking me questions to see if there was any validity in it. What happened was I got upset with him behind that because, you know, he had been a friend of mine for many years. And I'm like, why are you asking me these type of questions? But the only way that I can, after a while, I mean, I was just dumbfounded because, first of all, she never laid eyes on my father a day in her life. So I have to think that this program strategically, after that, you know, again, people are in this program and it's typically lifelong, that they were trying to set me up to be entrapped in some sort of way, for the final takedown. The prison system and the psych wards are full of victims of this program.
Yeah.
They don't have a clue that they were manipulated. Then you have images bombarded across the media. Incidentally, own 6 corporations own the media, and they are the globalists. Mm-hmm. And so basically, we're being spoon-fed what to think, what to feel, who to like, who to dislike, and so forth, with a foundation of programming for, again, what their goals are. Yes. So she went there and she told them this. So it connected with my veterans benefits, which brought the FBI into this program. And when they stepped in, they started, Ted Gunderson, who was a 27-year veteran of Los Angeles FBI, he stated that this, and he was targeted as well. He stated that the organized gang stalking is definitely spearheaded by the at the federal level, and that the FBI is actually the individuals that have driven. However, again, post 9/11, under the guise of the search for terrorists, and many Americans who are activists and whistleblowers have been named domestic terrorists in order to get approval, because the frame of thought is that we can mobilize people about the truth, a truth that they want hidden and don't want publicized or well known. So that opened up, her doing that opened up. So after you're in this program, of course, they scanned my brain. And what they do is they will create a question in you, in your thought process, because mind control is actually thought. Or again, I really prefer psychological, electronic, technological, being from a distance. It's a distance. So, I mean, what they'll do is they'll beam a thought, and then you'll start to think about it. So they know that there was never any inappropriateness with me and my father. But the objective, I know, the objective is to lower your frequency and keep you at a lowered frequency. And that's how people are manipulated into becoming shooters and suicidal and acting out, because that lowered frequency can create stress, depression, anxiety, anger, and that's what it's all about. The thought control effort is not about creating anything positive in your life.
Right.
It's about the opposite.
Absolutely.
That's what happened. So let me just say this. I concluded she must have definitely been under mind control.
Yeah.
Do something like that, to go to the police with an outright lie like that. It had to be mind control. It had to be in.
That's crazy. So you're talking a lot about frequencies, and what I personally enjoy doing is listening to certain frequencies. Talk about that a little bit. I know you're familiar with it.
Oh, absolutely. The Cephalgio frequencies.
Yes.
You know, when I first was going through this and my frequency was being lowered, that again, first of all, I believe that the operators of this program, for this evil for them to react and do the things that they're doing, they're operating in a lowered frequency. Because of the hatred and the negativity, the vicious name calling, the torture that they're inflicting, and the pain and sorrow, the separation of families, the targeting of children. So they're obviously already operating at a lower frequency. So when I was searching when I began to understand frequencies, I understood that I do it in research, I was led to understanding the Cephalgio frequencies. And the Cephalgio frequencies are frequencies that are designed to bring you back to a normal level of the frequency that we are, that is natural to us, that keeps us in a place of feeling good about ourselves and, our environment and everything. Because again, our moods can be manipulated through frequencies, alpha waves, delta. Delta waves actually is supposed to be the programming for mass shooters, the mind control program. So, I mean, when they start manipulating our natural alpha waves and beta, delta, and so forth, then that's when they are able to create a control of us based on the lowering of frequency. So the thing is that our binaural beats,
yes,
is the same thing as what the Cephalgio frequency accomplished. But I think that you have to be very careful, because one thing about these operations is that they're constantly looking for anything that's positive. Like if someone were to find some sort of protective material, then what they do is they turn up the directed energy weapons to a higher level to ensure that whatever you found, because they want their technology to work. So if we're finding something that can uplift us out of that lowered frequency, which I found years ago that the Cephalgio frequencies will do, you have to be careful that because we do resonate, and we are frequencies, we are bioelectric. You have to be careful that you make sure that it's a quality and not something that could change your frequency negatively. Although I'm sure you would recognize if you were listening to something that actually did.
So where do you find the frequencies that you listen to?
You can find a lot of them on YouTube, and you also can order the actual CDs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, listen to them in your car. And, you know, again, it's the source. And most people, because many don't know about it, I think that, you know, at this time, you still can get quality stuff. Put some headphones on,
Yeah.
relax, and just let it realign you.
Yes.
The DNA. There's one um, that motivates the love frequency and everything. And I tell you, I really believe it helps. But I also, you know, think that people should be aware that anything that's good and positive, this type of program would love to tamper with. So be aware of that.
Yes, yes. When I'm at work and I'm having a stressful day, my favorite thing to do is put my earphones in and turn into, like you said, I go to YouTube and put on some of the 432 or the, you know, and just try. It really does ground me. It really does make me feel better.
And you know what's interesting about the Sylvagio frequencies is that the music industry has manipulated the music away from the frequencies that would create a calming effect in music. So the objective is to have us in an agitated and irritated state. And then that way, we really are more controllable. Our people are then redirected to the pharmaceutical industry or listening to music without understanding that music is a powerful frequency.
Very.
It has been intentionally manipulated.
And then again, who is in control of that entertainment industry? One of those six companies that you were talking about.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And you know, a lot of people believe that you cannot be in the music industry without some type of control over you. The last thing they want, for example, let's use John Lennon. John Lennon became, who had a powerful global influence. When he started speaking out against the Vietnam War, he became a threat because he had an audience, again, a global audience. Some would argue, and that was during the 60s, the civil rights movement, and, you know, there was a lot of death during that time as many people tried to stand up against corruption and wanting a better way of life, a more loving, compassionate earth without having to resort to lives being taken to accomplish that. So the individual who ultimately was set up to assassinate him was said to have been a Manchurian who had been part of the MK Ultra program. The same with Robert Kennedy. Sirhan said the same thing, that he had been programmed. So it's like once they get him in jail and that programming starts to have cracks in it, and there is no UCLA or Loma Linda around to reprogram people, it is believed that, you know, you have spurts of reality.
Yeah, yeah. Now, what inspired your first book? What made you want to write?
Well, it was my children. When this started happening and I started making the connection, you know, I didn't want my girls, I had 3 daughters from a previous marriage. I didn't want them to think their mother was crazy. I just wasn't going to have that because we as parents, we are, when your daughters or your children are growing, you are the example that they look to as a foundation. Well, my mom did this, so I can do it. Or, you know, my family, I have a cousin that's a senator in a state, another aunt, she ran for office. My great aunt was inducted into the Women's Hall of Fame. And so, I mean, it's important to have role models. My grandfather, during a time where Black people weren't getting an education, He graduated from Morehouse. So
Wow.
this was many, many, many years ago. So the thing is, role models are vital,
Mhm.
vital. So when you're looking at your parent and you are being, it is being created a persona that they're mentally ill in some sort of way. And I'm knowing that I'm not mentally ill, something is happening here, and I'm just not going to have that. So what I did, it was actually a bluff. I said, because they set up, as I mentioned before we went on the air, I have a house behind me. The neighborhood watch program has been mobilized. They do give them see-through the wall technology. However, military and operatives do have access to their homes. I have a drone, my own personal drone that follows me around my city from location to location. And I've witnessed them beaming people, for example, at the gym, negativity. And I understand the capability of focusing on one person, but also focusing the beam of influence on people in the immediate environment, because the technology is called psychotronic, and it's psychological electronic, and it is a beam. So, gosh, I kind of lost the question.
Well, we were talking about why you wrote your book, but I mean, you were giving a lot of background and a lot of information. Yeah.
Sure. Well, you know what happened is that I decided that I was going to bring them into the open. So who knew that I would end up writing a book? So what I did, I said, okay, yeah, I'm going to write a book. And I was saying that as a bluff. So what I did was everything that was said, done, the stalking, the following, the comments, I started writing it on my computer in 2008. I would just type up everything, everything. When it was all said and done, I had about 1,000 pages.
Wow.
So I was talking with someone on the phone, and I was talking about how much information that I had accumulated, because I was every day, whatever they did, said, or, everything, I documented it. And I was talking with someone on the phone, and I was telling them about that, again, bluffing, saying, I'm going to turn this into a book. Well, an agent in the background said, that'll never happen. And so when he said that, then that's what was the spark.
That's your challenge.
That's my challenge. Like, who are you? You put your pants on one leg at a time, just like the rest of us. I don't perceive you as anything except an ego-driven human being.
Mhm.
Your power being not directing good at people, but in fear, having people believe that you have the capability of destruction in your hands, that you can destroy and shatter lives. So that's what the power that they have. It's not in being anything beneficial or helpful. It's in the negativity that I'm based, which is fear-based. Fear-based.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Fear.
Happen.
Fear is the lowest frequency, isn't that? Yes. Yes. And love is the highest frequency. Yeah.
And you know what I think a lot of us that they're after, that's what they're targeting us for. They can understand that love that's in us that they have not been able to tamper with.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I believe that everyone that I've dealt with in this program, beautiful.
I agree. I agree with that. Yes, we have met some of the most phenomenal, amazing people. Everybody just so loving and so giving and straight from the heart. I love that. It's my favorite part. Yeah. Now, why did you have to self-publish?
Well, initially I had a publisher, and we started out on excellent terms. They assigned an agent for me to work with me personally, and we would talk and coordinate on, they were going to design the book cover, they do proofreading, editing, and so forth. So everything was going fine, and then miraculously there was a 360-degree turnaround. We spoke one day, and the tone was ice cold. So when she told me that they were sending me a draft of the manuscript for me to review, when I received it, there were numerous errors in it, like grammar, punctuation, things that should have been taught to the professional departments that they have in the process to completion of a book. But what got me was that chapter 7 became chapter 9, and after chapter 9 was chapter 8. So it had been totally rearranged. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh, this is some sort of tampering. And in the meantime, while I was actually writing the manuscript, I would witness from a remote location paragraphs being highlighted, and poof, they would disappear in the blink of an eye. So, I mean, they do attach themselves as a administrator to your computer, and they can do that by sending a random email, and you open it up, it could say, congratulations, you just won $50 or a gift card, and you open it, and that can it can allow the I guess it would be spyware, you can call it, or it allows it to be downloaded onto your computer. As a result, they can have remote control. So yeah, they kept doing that, and it was really frustrating for me because I'm a perfectionist, and I would go back, I would make the corrections, and I would go back and words were misspelled. So finally, I found a little gadget called the undo button, and it became my best friend.
Really?
Yes. I mean, they would zap a paragraph, and I'd press the undo button, and there it was.
Oh my goodness. You were just going right behind them, undoing what they were doing. Oh, that's funny.
My weapon became my finger on the undo button.
Oh, wow. That is funny. So you had to stay really on top of them, and then just decided, oh, I'm not doing this. I can just do it myself easier, right?
I had to, because, you know, you want to fight for your life. You have to, or they will destroy you. They will continue to. The program will continue to evolve and intensify. And actually, the books are what leveled the playing field for me. As a result of the books, they tried to have me committed 2 times, using my kids, my oldest daughter. And again, when you're in this program and you're telling people something is happening, even if you're out in public, they are beaming people, she's crazy. Don't believe a word she's saying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, especially when you're targeted around the clock and for years, which these operations are, and they have the state-of-the-art operation centers, nearly 2 in every state today, Fusion, which are intelligence sharing. But the culprits are these counter-terrorism divisions that popped up post 9/11 that have war rooms. And the war room is where they have all this advanced technology after approval of electronic surveillance and so forth. So yeah, you have to have something to balance out the negativity. And with me, writing and creating became that outlet for me, and it was a saving grace for me. So
wow.
The first one was You Are Not My Big Brother. And then I decided, well, I need to go back and lay the foundation of what's happening today by the mounds of open literature evidence that's out there. So as a result, remote brain targeting became book number 1 to lay the foundation for books 2, 3, 4, and then ultimately the 5th book was about the young public defender that went postal in this program.
Right. And I think that you have agreed to come back with me for a series, if I'm not mistaken. And so, yeah, I'd like to get into him in one of our future programs, because I know you have a lot of information about that as well.
I'd love to. It would be my pleasure.
I'm so excited. Okay, so do you know who is ultimately behind your targeting?
Well, I mean, the targeting program in and of itself is a Department of Defense and Department of Justice program. When they when they opened it up, what they did was under one umbrella, they combined the military with federal, state, and local law enforcement, sheriff. And the dynamic is that there is a search. That's how the establishment of counterterrorism is. So as a result, when you become an activist or a whistleblower, you literally are blacklisted, and the threat is that you're going to. That's why you have like Snowden or Assange that have left the country, because they come after you to destroy you and to silence you.
Mm-hmm.
So this program is a government alphabet agency endeavor. It started, there was a young man who did a lawsuit against the NSA, John St. Acquey. I'm never quite sure how to pronounce his last name. It's Akwei. He brought a lawsuit against the John St. Acquey, I'll say. He brought a lawsuit against the NSA, and it was one of the first revelations where he literally documented the neuro manipulation capability of using frequencies. He was a contractor, similar to Snowden.
Huh. Wow, you are such a wealth of information. You just have so much knowledge about this. I could talk to you forever, and just I love to find out new stuff. And I had never even really heard of targeting until I met Stephen Shellen. He's kind of the one that introduced me to it, and he was a good one for me to talk to and kind of give a broad base. And now we're filling in some of the holes with other people like you and Dr. John Hall and Dr. Catherine Horton. So we interviewed her as well. And I'm always fascinated to talk to you guys, because it's something that I just had no knowledge of, and so many people have no knowledge of. And it, like you said, has been going on for decades.
Right.
And we just had no idea.
That's right. And the thing is that one of the that has been quite effective is to anybody that has spoken of this as a reality, they've used the mental illness tag. And sorry, guys, it's just not going to work anymore.
So how do you know the difference? How do you know the difference in shooters or people that go off the deep end who are being mind controlled and who are just kind of crazy? Is there a way to tell?
Well, the thing is that this program can create mental illness.
Oh, yes.
If you're sleep deprived, you're watching you're getting the synthetic telepathy, which is also called the Bray effect, radio frequency hearing, artificial telepathy, voice of God,
or the skull to brain, or something like that.
Voice to skull.
Voice to skull. Yeah.
Or V2K. Yeah. So, you're getting that in most cases, relentless harassment where people are being called vicious names around the clock. And then again, they do that. Then they zap you with the consciousness altering dreams. Your dreams are being manipulated. Back in 2008, I had my first revelation that they were trying to program me while I was asleep. I woke one morning and I declared something that was absolutely not true. As soon as I woke, I was on my way to the restroom, and something just came out, and I was like, wow, where did that come from? But I knew that was 2009. And again, this started in 2006. So yeah, they were on me trying. When you look back over this program, and hopefully we can touch base on this in the rest of this series. The doctrine is to convince you that you've done something that has been you've been influenced subtly into doing, and there are actual declassified documents that show that America became aware that, and if you watch which you said you watched the documentary,
yes.
Mendicenti was the cardinal that the U.S. realized that the Soviets had gotten him to admit to something that he never did.
Right.
And that's how which sparked the interest in controlling people mentally and getting them to do the bidding, where people who've never done any wrong, have never had any inclination, are set up in these programs. And then you add the aspect of the ongoing aspect of big pharma drug testing, as well as intentional infiltration into specific communities of drugs that are actually part of for profit, for black budgets, some would argue, but also for continued testing of the effects of illegal drugs on the population, for population control as well.
Yeah, the drug thing is a whole other can of worms, and I'm trying to get some stuff set up and talk to some whistleblowers from big pharma as well. It seems like such different subjects, but it all just holds hands and it all links together.
It creates, you begin to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Because listen, our beloved troops are in Afghanistan, but heroin has evolved. 90% of the heroin is coming from Afghanistan. Wow.
Right.
2-minute fact. And we're talking about affluent America that is being put the harder. And when I think about that, I have to wonder if typically, historically, people that have had a strong voice against corruption has been the affluent. So you never know. There could be a covert, type of mentality that, you keep people drugged up, that they're passive, they're silenced as they continue to embark on what is documented, the New World Order globalization ideology.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, well, we're going to start to wind up a little bit on this one. What I'd like to do is I'd like to ask you if you can give a teaser to our audience, what you would like for us to talk about in the next coming up sessions, and then tell everybody how they can find you and follow you.
Sure. One thing that, it's my heart is afire, is this trauma based on children. I've recently seen it with my granddaughter.
Oh, no.
And they used that with me to set me up for me speaking out against what I'm clearly seeing happening. But because my children have been influenced, they would have liked to have used that to use my kids to say she's mentally ill, and this is the proof. So I'd like to talk about that, and also the mass shooters, and how the Myron May incident, and how people are just being destroyed, and to open the awareness of the public that what's going to help us survive is knowledge of the patents and of the legalization for, if you go to the technology approval on my website, you can see that this program has been legalized for research activity for the military and law enforcement for any reason, even if you're for the warrantless spy program, for example, which you don't need a warrant for.
Wow. Yeah, I wonder what kind of world. The world that we're living in is just insane, basically.
And also, lastly, the history of this technology is antediluvian. It dates back, again, and it's documented in ancient Egypt and so forth. So we're talking about the electromagnetic spectrum has always been the energy source around the Earth. In fact, and I do touch on it in the document, the Tower of Giza was said to be the powering source.
Yeah.
So, they understood electromagnetic energy. They understood its implication on controlling the population then. And I think that it's vital to understand, as we are in this awakening today, and this evolution of consciousness, to get all that out there as we leave the old behind and advance determination to make the world a better place and a brighter day for generations.
Yes, we must all learn to be on the love frequency.
That's it. Ah, yeah.
And to have lots of people in your group with that same frequency. That's why it's so good to be in nature. Nature automatically resonates in that frequency, and when you're there and you're surrounded by it, it's easier to get in that frequency.
You are so right. And let me throw this in as we close. I started landscaping my backyard. And away when you're hit with, and when you're around walking in the dirt and connecting with the ground, it grounds you. It actually brings that frequency back, similar to the Sephelgio frequency.
Mm-hmm.
It grounds you again if you're being bombarded with frequency manipulation or directed energy weapon microwaves, which is a part of the, again, electromagnetic spectrum. So you're so right, working in the dirt, and, you know, sometimes I'll take my feet off, my shoes off, and not my feet off.
We hope not.
Where did that come from? Yeah.
We'll edit it out. It's good.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, you are so right. It's connecting with nature, being out there, touch a tree, I just planted a bunch of flowers in the back, and it's therapeutic as well.
It certainly is. Yes, it really is.
Yeah. That's the key. Grounding of your frequency.
Absolutely.
Our natural frequency.
Yeah. So tell people how to find you. Of course, I'll put everything down in the description, but if people can follow you, if you have a Twitter or a Facebook.
Well, definitely I have a Twitter. My main Twitter, Facebook account. I've never been on Twitter a lot. What I did was connect my Facebook posts to automatically go to Twitter. So because I believe that Twitter is something you have to, in order to build an audience, you have to constantly tweet.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't do that. So my main Facebook page, it's about 5,000 people. But what I did was I created Renee Pittman Books. The reason that it has not grown to a larger number is because a lot of the people are the people that are on my main Facebook page, because you send the invite out to me. So what I would like to do is, as I near my limit on the regular Facebook page, start focusing on Renee Pittman Books. So if people would go there and like the page, then they will have access to information that I post. Google Plus, I had almost 150,000 views, and then they canceled me out of Google Plus. And so I started it like 2 months later. I created another account, and so now it's back up there, which is small because some people on Google have been on it for years and they have 1 million views.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just Google my name, Renee Pittman, Amazon will come up, the blog will come up, everything.
Yeah. Yes, and then, like I said, I'll put everything in the link. We'll send everybody there, and I'm sure we'll have lots of people that want to get your books. So Amazon is the best place to get that?
It is. It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Again, I just want to thank you so much for reaching out to me. I was amazed whenever I saw the email, and oh so excited, and I immediately started researching your name and finding everything that I could about you. I had already found you through the Bigger Than Snowden blog. I had read about you and looked up all of your stuff from there, but it was a few months back, and so I wanted to see if you had any recent stuff out. And you are a truly amazing woman, and I'm so happy that you have chosen us to start speaking out through. And we just want to get this out there, make people aware, wake them up to what is really going on. We are actually lab mice.
Right.
And people don't realize it, but we really are.
And again, I have to say this again, Angie. So glad we're on the same team.
Me too. Me too. Well, I just want to say bye to our audience, and I'm going to stop recording here